Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we are going to be looking at probably one of the most popular helmets in all of Diablo 2, and it is known simply a lot of the times as the Shako. And people actually make fun of this, by the way, because Shako, of course, is wrong. It's not a Shako. It's a unique Shako. And the name of it is actually the Harlequin Crest. So, when people call it a Shako, they are doing so incorrectly. It is actually called the Harlequin CrestShako. But as you can see, it's quite a mouthful. And that's probably why people don't call it that. Now, the Harlequin CrestShako does have a relatively static stats, which means that pretty much none of it changed except for the little bit that is based on a character level. The only thing that rolls random on the Harlequin CrestShako is the defense. So the defense can roll in between 98 to 141, and also the Harlequin CrestShako is an elite item, which means it does not get upgraded. So when you find one, that's it. You just, oh yeah, you found one. Congratulations. And then that's, there's not a lot more you can do. However, you can socket it, and socketing it usually ends up with a perfect topaz or an ist rune if you're rich. This will give it more magic find, so you will get an extra 24% from a topaz, which will bring you to 74%. And if you put a ist rune in there, you'll be at 75%, which is not bad. So the magic find on this is one of the best things about this helmet. However, it does have some other very nice effects, and we'll go over those together. It has the +2 to all skills, which is pretty darn amazing. Not a lot of helmets have +2 to all skills at this particular level. It definitely, even when you get higher into the game, it can still sometimes be the best helmet that you'll have with +2 to all skills. It has a relatively low strength requirement with only 50. And speaking of level requirement, it is level 62, relatively low. It has +2 to all attributes, which is, even though that doesn't sound like a lot, that's actually pretty cool, because it's literally going to give you +2 to strength, +2 to dex, +2 to vitality, and +2 to energy, which means you're going to get a little bit of mana, a little bit of health, a little bit of dexterity, which is going to give you a little bit of attack rating, a little bit of defense, and a little bit of block chance. And it's also going to give you a little bit of strength, which will help you put on other equipment and give you a little bit of physical damage on your attack if you're using a physical weapon. We also have a based on character life and a based on character mana of 1.5 per character level, which goes all the way up to 148 at level 99, which is pretty amazing, to be honest. The fact that it will give you a pretty decent amount of life and mana is huge, and as you can see, as a barbarian, I only have 150 mana, and when I throw this on, I now have 300 mana, which is pretty darn cool. 300 mana, basically doubling my mana from 150 to 300, which is it's just cool. We also have a damage reduced by mechanic of 10%, which means that it will reduce all physical damage that you take while you're wearing this particular hat, and it's freaking great. You can cap this out at 50%, so you can tag this along with some other items, like for instance Storm Shield, Monarch Shield, which has 35% damage reduction, or Verdungo's belt, which I don't have on, but Verdungo's also has, I think, up to 15%. String of Ears has up to 15%. Shaft Stop has 30% damage reduction. Enigma has 8%. Chains of Honor has 8%, and so forth and so on. And if you stack up the numbers nicely, when a monster hits you with physical damage attacks, it'll tickle a little bit. It will also counter amplify damage, which amplify damage is a reduction by 100%. So when you have 50%, which is the cap, and you have amplify damage on you, you will be at negative 50% instead of negative 100%, which is actually pretty nice. Now, Harlequin CrestShako is very sought after, and sometimes it does spawn ethereal. Now, when it does spawn ethereal, the only thing that changes is the defense. And because Harlequin CrestShako does not actually have any plus defense on it, it's just going to be the base plus 50%, which is only going to get you about 191. Which isn't really that great. And when a lot of people find an ethereal Harlequin CrestShako, They're very sad about it. But one thing you can do with a Harlequin CrestShako is put it on a mercenary. It will beef up the mercenary's skills. It will give him 10% damage reduction. It's actually pretty nice, and you can socket it with a 15% IAS jewel to make him attack faster. The magic find also works on a mercenary, believe it or not. So when the mercenary gets the killing blow, you will essentially add that to your total. So if I were to have, for instance, 200% magic find, and my mercenary was wearing a Harlequin CrestShako, and he got the killing blow, it would be 250% magic find for that kill. So an ethereal Harlequin CrestShako is not exactly terrible, because it is relatively nice to use on a mercenary, so keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to Harlequin Crest, the main problem is finding it. How do you find yourself a Harlequin CrestShako? Well, the answer to that question is eluded people for a very long period of time. You can go to Silo's Pen and you can look up the probability chances, but the best monsters to farm for Harlequin CrestShako, believe it or not, are Hell Andariel and Hell Mephisto, as well as Hell Diablo. They have the highest chances possible of dropping the Shako. And Bale in Nightmare difficulty has a pretty good chance, as well as Duriel in Hell, but Duriel in Hell is the trollest monster, and people just don't farm him, because half the time you just end up getting 6 scrolls of Town Portal. Now, let's take a look at super uniques real quick, because super uniques do have a pretty good probability of dropping this. So in Hell difficulty, the Cow King has a 1 in 3,135 chance. Neelthak in Hell is 1 in 7,600. Radamant is 1 in 7,800. The Summoner is 1 in 8,100. Bishy Bosch in Hell in Cold Plains is actually extremely easy to farm, by the way. He is 1 in 10,000 chance of dropping this. Rakanishu is 1 in 10,000 chance of dropping this. And Treehead Woodfist is 1 in 10,000 chance of dropping this. As well as Bone Ash in the Cathedral is 1 in 10,000. So hear me out on this. And this is something I've done in the past to farm Harlequin CrestShakos. If you farm Bone Ash, Treehead Woodfist, Rakanishu, and Bishy Bosch, these 4 super uniques are very close together. They are very easy to get to. Bone Ash is right next to the waypoint. Rakanishu is usually right next to the waypoint. Bishy Bosch is usually right next to the waypoint. And Treehead Woodfist, sometimes you have to search around for him a little bit, but he is also sometimes right next to the waypoint. So if you do Cold Plains, Stony Field, Darkwood, and Cathedral, and you kill all 4 of these super uniques in tandem really quickly, there's actually a pretty good chance you'll have one of these drop for you. I've actually told people many, many times that for some reason or another, I see Rakanishu and Hell drop Harlequin CrestShakos all the time. And this was before I ever took a look at Silo's Pen and checked out his probabilities. And believe it or not, Rakanishu, Bishy Bosch, Treehead Woodfist, and Bone Ash are among the highest probability monsters to drop this particular item. Now, granted, the Cow King, Neelthak, Radamant, the Summoner, and the Countess have better probabilities than these 4, but the Cow King, Neelthak, Radamant, and the Summoner, and the Countess are much harder to get to than these 4. And granted, since the Cow King is the highest probability there, who do you go to on the way to get the Wirt's Leg to go to the cow level? Rakanishu. So if you are going to farm the cow level for Shakos, which is not a bad idea, I suggest that you kill Rakanishu on the way. Bone Ash is extremely easy to get to, and you can kill him in about 30 seconds. You can literally portal in, TP down to him, murder him, and run back to the waypoint, literally in all of about 30 seconds. So Bone Ash and Rakanishu, at the very least, are super duper easy to find and kill. Bishy Bosch and Treehead Woodfist tend to be a little bit more random in their positioning, but they are rather easy to find and kill as well. And then, when you go to the cow level, kill the Cow King, rinse and repeat, and hopefully you'll find one at that point. Now, let's go on to the next part of this video, and we're going to talk about who this is good for and why. So what we have to talk about when we're talking about who this is good for is not who this is good for. Because I hate to say this, But Shako is good for literally just about any character you wish to put it on. The +2 to skills is literally useful to everyone. The +2 to attributes is useful to everyone. The life and mana is useful to everyone. The damage reduced by is useful to everyone, and so is the magic find useful to everyone. And you can socket this with whatever you want to make it more useful to your specific character. Granted, most people choose more magic find, but you could throw a 15% IAS jewel in here and make it more useful to a melee or a ranged character. The real question is, what is better than the Harlequin CrestShako? And that comes down to use case specific scenarios. Like, for instance, Griffin's Eye Diadem would be superior to a Lightning Sorceress. A Jalal's Mane would be superior to a Druid, and so forth and so on. So when you look at whether this helmet is good for your specific build, you're not necessarily looking at, is this good for my build? You're looking at, is there anything better for my build than Harlequin CrestShako? And as you start to discover which items could potentially be better for your build than Harlequin Crest, you will replace it. However, if you have one of these, chances are you're probably going to throw it on your character until you can figure out what else. Now, let's talk about the most unredeeming characteristic of the Harlequin Crest, which is it's ugly. Dear Lord Jesus, it's ugly. It was ugly in the original game, and it's ugly now. Like, it hasn't changed in ugliness. It's still ugly. Like, it is just as ugly now. Actually, I think it might have actually gotten more ugly now than it was previous. And this has been the biggest meme about this particular helmet, is that they made the helmet really good, and then they were like, you know what, we're going to make it really ugly. That way they have to choose between fashion or stats. And they did a good job. And when Diablo 2 Resurrected came out, they were probably like, you know what, we're going to go with the meme, and we're going to make it even more ugly than it was before. And they did. And it is more ugly now than it even was before. And it's green, and it's ugly, and it makes your character look stupid, and that's really all there is to it. And I don't really know how else to put it other than that. But we suffer for our stats. That's all there is to it. And I don't know why somebody put a diamond in this. I actually loaded it into the game with a diamond. I had to remove the diamond from the other one. A diamond is probably one of the worst things you can put in this particular hat. I mean, you could put a lot of things in this hat. You could put an rune for more resistances. You could put in a 15% IAS jewel for more attack speed. You could put a perfect topaz for more magic find, an rune for more magic find. You could put a Cham rune for cannot be frozen. There are a lot of things that you can do with a Harlequin CrestShako, and a perfect diamond is probably one of the worst. I mean, maybe if you were really suffering for attack rating, maybe. I don't. Maybe. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you watching my videos, and even when they are about a very ugly hat like this one. And as always, keep watching.